Alright, everybody. This is my week 3 battle for BBR. Unfortunately, the original video had a lot of technical issues and to work through. Long story short, it kept minimizing my OBS while recording, and then at some point it did not want to open back up. So I had to piece together here and there parts of the recording, and it was literally annoying as all hell. But today I'm facing off against QSN, coach of the Texas Toedscruels. They have Chi Yu, which is Terra Dark, Terra Grass. They have Great Tusk, Goldango, Torkoal, Gardevoir, Dondozo, Salamence, Skuntank, Cyclizar, and Misdrevious. Hopefully this intro opening is long enough, and we'll see how this battle goes. Unfortunately, it is incredibly annoying that I had to do Wolfscom. But we will hop on into this. I will skip it to the preview. And we have the matchup. They brought down Dozo, Salamence, Great Tusk, Torkoal, Goldango, and Chi-Yu. Pretty much almost everything I was expecting except for the Salamence. Can't remember what I wanted to see in its place, but I believe I was expecting, I think, Gardevoir to take the trace from God, what ability was it gonna? Oh, Magic Bounce to make it to where I can't like T-Wave or anything, and it'll bounce right back at me. Yeah, and Gardevoir actually would have been actually pretty good here too, because it gets Mystical Fire as well, so it's boosted by the sun, I believe. So without further ado, let's hop on into this. I decided to lead Espeon, just because it was Sash. And this was an immediate regret. So I'm Sash in front of this thing, so I have a difficult decision to make here. Do I swap and risk something else? But no, I ended up immediately just clicking the power gem. I sped up a little bit there because this is the first part of where my recording stopped. So I had to stop and start immediately, and then I click Power Gem, and then drops down. Alright, so I'm Sash. Had they stayed a fire type, though, this Power Gem would have almost killed them. Especially if with that crit. So it was a good call by them to become a grass type. So now I have... Okay, now I'm thinking of what I should do and if I should stack this. I went for the power gem immediately last time. Let's do it again. Let's see what happens. Granted, this was a fun way to find out they were Scarf. Incredibly fun. So now I'm sitting here, look, what do I do? They click Dark Pulse. I don't really have a resist. And the only way to force this out was to go into Red Riot. Into my Iron Treads. Booster energy activates. And I get speed. Okay, so that forces this out. So I Ice Spinner here just in case they decide to stay in. But logically, they switch. And this is around the time I'm starting to have, well, shortly have the issues where my audio was just nothing but blaring static, which is why I'm doing postcom. So I was an idiot here. Smart man would have stayed hovering on the volt switch like I am now. But I decide to ice spinner. And in comes Dondozo. Uh, this was probably the main turning point of the match because I needed to keep momentum. If I would have stuck with the volt switch there and trusted my gut, I would have been into Palafin right now. With this additional damage, and then I would have been able to get a move off or force this thing out. But instead, I did Ice Spinner, didn't do anything to it. It actually got all the health back from leftovers. I believe it was leftovers. So now I bring out All Might, well, Deku this week, and this hurts a lot. So he took some recoil here. Oh yeah, he has leftovers. So yeah, he just healed back, probably took 3 damage total from that. So I'm sitting here thinking what I should do. Can't risk that for the air balloon yet. How Lucha doesn't want to come on this. Oh, yeah. If you notice the moveset by now, I wished right about now that this was a different set on the Excalibur. Because in hindsight, Freeze Dry was always better on Excalibur because of this Dondozo. So now I'm forced to Glaive Rush, break the sub, and risk taking more damage here. And then they curse, and I'm like, oh, fuck. And this is around the time well, you could see me on the screen messing with my settings. It stopped on me again, and there's a blaring static, and I'm just sitting here like getting pissed off. Don't know what happened. I did a Windows 11 update, and ever since then, it just, my settings have been just doing this. Randomly, I'll be recording, and sometimes there will be a blaring, absolutely blaring static. So it's kind of like that static where the mic peaks, and it's that sound that messes with your ears. That's what it was doing with my speakers. So I brought this in. Like, alright, let's take care of this thing. So here's where I decide to surprise them with the grass knot. And this goes bye-bye. Boop. I don't think that crit mattered at all, but I could be wrong. Depends on the investment on the Dondozo. If it was max HP with slight SPDF, then yes, that did matter. If not, that did like 67%, if I remember right. And in comes Aang again. Like, oh, okay. So we're speed for speed. We are both base 100. And Smart Man here would have Terra Jet Punch and tried to get the roll. I lose the speed tie and Tailwind goes up. Had I killed this thing before the tailwind, maybe this would have been a slightly different game. Yeah, as you can see in my camera, I am stressing out right now because I just started my recording over again because it stopped. Like oh. So not only was my audio having issues, but I had to do a full uninstall and reinstall of OBS after this, just to see if it would run better, and it fixed the solution for now. But overall, it's incredibly annoying. And I should have switched here. Like, I could have saved this, swapped, brought it in later when it didn't have an attack drop with Terra Water and done a large chunk to the Goldango, but I did not think that through. Because realistically, I could have slightly stalled out the turns, and I had a whole Iron Treads in the back. So I decided to go into this. So they're like, okay. I'm modest. I'm looking at the calc. It should be able to kill from this range. So I decide. Sitting there talking to myself. Do I want to shift gear here? Do I want to switch and eat a Shadow Ball on Iron Treads? Checking this out. I'm debating because I don't know if I want to risk this roll. So I decide I'm just going to end up going for the overdrive as time expires. Because it wasn't worth taking the damage on anything else. And I'm surprised I lived that. And I'm also surprised they lived that. Which told me a few things. Because if they were fully invested, there's not a chance I lived that Shadow Ball. Because I was minus Spit F Nature on this. For some reason, I looked at it post-game. So I should have died guaranteed. So I was plus special attack minus Spit F for no reason on it post-game. So yeah, I'm back to just having this stuff in. I'm talking about over here how I noticed that I do not have Trailblaze. I changed the move in game and I did not save, and I closed my game, which erases everything you just did and goes back to where it last saved. So I went in still having Fire Punch, but it kind of benefited technically because I needed it for the gold angle, but at the range of health it is at the time, I mean, the Fire Punch wasn't really needed. So I make a read here thinking he is going to switch. And I'm hoping, can I get a rapid spin off? Because I want to be able to outspeed the Chi-Yu if it comes in. So in comes Boomy, which I find out is the Great Tusk. Okay, so now I'm slightly faster. I decide to go for Ice Spinner, which is 50-50. I needed like 2 max rolls or a max roll and a crit to guarantee kill this thing, depending on defense investment. And yeah, it's tanky. It is a tanky boy. And he goes for knockoff. So yeah, that knockoff would have hit into Halucha, but because if I swapped, wouldn't have mattered. So I end up doing this. So he ends up lowering down. He's got minus Spadef and defense. So I go into Tokiyama. I decide to just. I mean, there's not realistically anything I can do at this point because. I mean, I still have an item, and the best thing this thing could hit me with is knockoff. So, in hindsight, maybe if I was on Burden still and he knocked off my life orb, maybe with a Swords Dance I had a chance. But it all depends on what the Torkoal was in the back. But realistically, in the long run, I decide to just Fire Punch and kill this thing. Which might have been the worst possible play ever because I probably needed a Swords Dance there. But I also couldn't risk the switch. And I also forgot the health on the Goldango. So, me being myself and flipping up. So, I'm sitting here thinking what I should do. I decide to Swords Dance because I at least want the damage. And the Heat Wave. And I get burned. I looked after the match. +2 how Lucha with a life orb with close combat was actually enough to kill the Torkoal if I was not burned, which is kind of crazy because max attack +2 close combat without an item was able to do about 90%, but with the life orb, it did that much. So if I was +2 and non-burned, it had a chance. But instead, I end up dying to Clear Smog and the Torkoal. Best of luck to my opponent in the upcoming weeks. QSN, you came to play. The game was slightly closer than it should have been. Like if I was able to kill the Goldango, it probably would have been a 2-0. But without further ado, everybody like and subscribe if you haven't. And enjoy.